What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Louie T, here for another installment of the Louie T Network podcast. Hope the day is treating you magnificently. Man, I'm just in a good mood, man. I mean, I am just feeling fantastic right now. And you know why? You know why? I'm just over the moon right now. And I don't want it to end. So, but at the same time, I'm not nervous about another game. You know, normally when I'm having these good vibes and this good feeling, I don't want it to end. So I don't want to play another game because I don't want it to get messed up. I'm excited to see what the next chapter looks like. I told you this is the fun part about being young and dumb. When you don't know any better, the expectations aren't as great. You just go out and have fun. Just let it be what it is, right? This is fun. When expectations get involved, that's when shit gets tight. That's when you start to get nervous. And I'm not nervous. I'm just excited. This is fun. This is what it's supposed to be like. Ah, yes, 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 yes. Week 4 kicks off tonight with a big one in the NFC East. 1-2 Giants, 1-2 Cowboys. We'll talk about that game, preview it. I'll give you my prediction. We're going into week 4. I've got a fresh set of power index for you. Let's see what we got going on. Got a lot of changes in the power index this weekend. I think we're starting to really kind of shape and mold what this thing is going to look like moving forward, right? A lot of movement the first couple of weeks, which you expect, right? We don't know who's who and what's a mirage and what's real, but I think we're starting to get to a point now where we're going to start to remove the pretenders from the conversation and start inserting contenders, and they're going to stay put. But I got a fresh new power index for you heading into week number 4 of the National Football League. And so we'll talk about that. Josh Allen, I've listened to a lot of content here. Look, man, I've been a content whore here over the last 48 to 72 hours. I've just been consuming so much. And in the process of consuming a lot of Washington content, I have incidentally, that's not the word I was looking for, but indirectly, that's the word I was looking for. Indirectly run into Bills content because they also played on Monday Night Football and Josh Allen put on a performance. We didn't talk about that performance yesterday when we were supposed to, because we didn't talk about it on Monday when we were supposed to, because it was overshadowed by Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders and what they did. And so I haven't given that game its just due, but forget about the game itself. It was a rout. The Bills dominated. I want to talk about the Bills, but more specifically Josh Allen. And maybe I was wrong. I'm not willing to admit that because we're going to find out over this next month. We've done this already, but I do want to talk about the Bills today. So we're going to talk about Josh Allen. Addition by subtraction, maybe? MVP Josh Allen? We'll talk about all that and more today on the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 452nd installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I want to give a quick shout out to everybody that's participating in the LTN exclusives. This week was a little condensed for me, obviously, with the Monday night game for the Commanders, all the things that followed that. NFC East Super Friends had to squeeze that in. And anytime I have an extra commitment, it's going to be on that Tuesday night, which is the slot where the LTN exclusives belong. And normally I'll be able to shift things around and get it in somewhere else. With the craziness of this week and the condensed nature of it, it just wasn't able to happen. So I want to speak to you all really quickly. We are going to react to week 4. Some of y'all thought you got away because some of y'all were just pure teen shit in week number 4. And you think you got away. Oh, man, I'm so glad he didn't do a kickback session. You think you off the hook. You're not off the hook. All right. If you earn the piss cup, you will drink from the piss cup. Don't you worry. So don't think you're out of the woods because we didn't do a video this week. We'll get you on the flip side in week 5. Don't worry about it. But I do want to shout out that there's only 2 people left in the survivor pool. Can you believe that? Now, I do want those 2 individuals to know. All right, the portal is open. I had that was on my fault. That was on my end. I had an error on my end where I didn't open up the portal. I thought I had, but I hadn't. The portal is now open. Go make your selections. All right, it's only 2 of y'all. All right, so get your picks in, but understand, because I made this alteration to the rule last year so that someone would come away with some money. But I said last year, if you make it to week 10, anytime thereafter, someone's walking away with some money. All right. If it comes down to 2 people and you tie, we're going to split the purse between the 2 individuals that tied and the house. Now, if it's more than 2 individuals, everybody loses, right? If they're all eliminated at the same time. Well, it's just 2 of y'all. However, it's too early. This is not surviving. If both of you are eliminated in week 4, week 5, week 6, you really truly didn't survive, right? You didn't even make it to week double digits, right? And that's why I said, if you make it to week 10, if you 2 make it to week 10, you're coming away with something, no matter what happens. But if you guys get eliminated in week 4, week 5, week 6, both of you in the same week, both of you are gone and nobody gets anything. Okay. So you better be making some shrewd picks from here on out, because there's nobody to protect you. It's just you guys. This is incredible. This thing started with 60-something people, and in 3 weeks, it's down to 2. Unbelievable. That's how crazy this season has been. And then shout out to Malo for getting it done in the weekly pick'em pool. I got you 160. Anytime you pay through PayPal, I told you, it's like snail mail. It's like sending a telegram. So I got to send the money to PayPal. They got to take 3 to 5 business days before they can clear the money and get it into the account, because most people pay through CashApp. So it's not enough money to just say, hey, you won, let me kick you your 160. Whereas with CashApp, the money's sitting in there because most people are paying through CashApp. So I can just send the money immediately. So I don't want you to think I'm not sending you your money or anything like that. The money should be in there today. That's what they told me. But if not today, it'll definitely be in there tomorrow. As soon as I get it, you'll get it. But congratulations for winning the week 3 weekly pick'em. $160 coming your way. If you're out there and you're watching this and you want to participate, look, please, by all means, make sure that you hit up the sheets. All right. All you need is the link that's pinned to my X account or in the comment section of any of the kickback videos. Go there, click the link, and it'll take you to where you can fill out the form, pay your money, either Cash App or PayPal, and you could be in the weekly pick'em pool, have a chance to win a few bucks, man. And been highly competitive these first 3 weeks, and a lot of money, a lot more than normal, right? 140, 150, 160 this past week. So get in if you can. But shout out to Malo, and shout out to the 2 individuals left in the survivor pool. I've never seen anything quite like what's transpired in the 12th annual Soul Survivor pool this season. That said, let's jump into the festivities today. And this is going to be a weekly tradition throughout the season. Wednesdays, this is Thursday, but this is the second pod of the week. So I'll just call it the second pod of the week, because we have not been on a tight schedule here on the Louie T Network to start this season. It's been kind of helter-skelter here at the beginning, but trust me, we're gonna get our lives together. But I'm riding the wave, and I'm telling you right now, I'm hanging 10, and this shit is fun. All right, so just vibe with me, spy with me. All right, so you know what it is. You know where we're going. Come on now, saddle up. Gym dropping session. Let's get it. Let me drop this gym on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So I've got my power index for week number 4 in the National Football League. We're through 3 weeks of football, heading into week 4. Giants and Cowboys will kick off the week 4 festivities. And so we'll get to the prediction and preview of that game a little bit later on in the show. But we're going to start off with the power index. Can't talk about this week's power index without first reminding you what the power index looked like from a week ago. So last week's power index looked as follows. Coming in at number 7, the Detroit Lions, coming off of their first loss of the season at home to Tampa Bay. Still thought they were one of the better teams in the conference, one of the better teams in the league. So I wasn't going to just dismiss them because of their first loss of the season. And at the time, it was to now 2-0 or then 2-0 Tampa Bay. So they were still on the list at number 7. Coming in at number 6, similar fate was suffered by the San Francisco 49ers after an impressive week 1 victory over the Jets. They suffered their first defeat at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings on the road in a close contest. So again, wasn't going to dismiss the 49ers because of one hiccup. They weren't going to go undefeated this season, and they lost to a quality opponent on the road. So they too remained on the list at number 6. Coming in at number 5 were those same Minnesota Vikings who took care of the San Francisco 49ers. You didn't want to give them the credit that they probably deserved in week 1 because it was the Giants, right? Okay, it was the Giants. It was the Giants. Week 1, whatever. Okay. Do it in week 2 against the team that represented the NFC in the Super Bowl, and then you start to change the narrative. So they had to be above the 49ers after beating them in week 2. So hence they came in at number 5 as one of the, at that time, I think 9 undefeated teams in the NFL. At number 4, another undefeated team who was coming off of a whale of a ball game, scoring 91 points in the first 2 weeks. The New Orleans Saints checked in at number 4. They had come off the thrashing and destruction of the Dallas Cowboys in week number 2 on the road in Dallas, no less. And so everyone was going goo goo gaga over the Saints. They were the darling story of the first 2 weeks that came to a screeching halt in week number 3. We'll talk about that here in a second. But number 3 was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just talked about them beating the Detroit Lions in Detroit, getting their second win of the season, remaining unbeaten on the season. It was an impressive victory to go into the Lions' den and come out with a W. And so Baker Mayfield had gotten off to a fast start. The Bucs themselves had gotten off to a fast start. And at 2-0, they looked like a really good team at the time. Another mirage, maybe? We'll see. Coming in at number 2 were the Houston Texans. They were 2-0. They had taken care of the Bears in week number 2, and they had taken care of Indy on the road in week 1. And so they were picking right up where they had left off last year, looking really sharp on the offensive side, not turning the ball over, defensively getting it done. And so they felt right at number 2 last week. And then again, until you knock off the Kings, the Kansas City Chiefs remain at number 1. That's where they were last week. And as you could imagine, that's where they're going to remain this week. Spoiler alert. So let's get to the week 4 edition of the Power Index. And we now start at number 7. And it was a team that was on the Power Index in week 2, fell off of the index altogether in week 3, now back onto the Power Index in week number 4, and then that is the Philadelphia Eagles. Massive road victory on the road at New Orleans. Previously undefeated were the Saints, averaging 47.5 points through the first 2 games were the Saints. And the Eagles went into New Orleans, or not 47.5. They were averaging I think it was 47.5. They scored 47 in week 1. No, it couldn't be that high. It was like 44.5 or something like that over the first 2 weeks. And they went into New Orleans with a letdown against the Falcons, a game that they probably should have won, had in the bag and let slip through their fingers. Meanwhile, the Saints are coming off of the destruction of the Panthers in week 1, the destruction of the Dallas Cowboys in week 2, and they were riding high. And all of a sudden, 45.5 is the number because they had 91 points through the first 2 weeks. And so the Eagles went in there and didn't allow the Saints to score 20 points. After 2 weeks of 40 plus, the Saints only could muster 12 points in the ball game. Eagles, much maligned defense, came to life, held that Saints offense down, as I mentioned, shut down Alvin Kamara for the most part. Derek Carr had his worst game of the young NFL season, and they went in there and they found a way to get it done. Converted a 3rd and 16, 61-yard catch and run by Dallas Goedert. Had a career day, 10 catches, 170 yards, and really was the one that spearheaded that attack with Devontae Smith getting hurt in the game and no A.J. Brown to go in there and win, losing a couple offensive linemen, Lane Johnson, Mekhi Becton throughout that game, not having your star receiver, A.J. Brown, losing Devontae Smith late in that ball game. To find a way to gut it out and win, it's a big one for the Philadelphia Eagles. They could have easily fell to 1-2 on the season and been in some trouble. They win that game, get back over 500, stay in first place in the NFC East, and knock the Saints from the ranks of the unbeaten. And so the Philadelphia Eagles now re-enter the power index at number 7. Checking in at number 6, only 5 unbeaten teams in the league currently after the first 3 weeks, and 4 of them are on the list, including the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in at number 6. It was easy to dismiss them the first 2 weeks. We still don't really know what the Atlanta Falcons are going to be. I think they're going to be a good team, but they got to find a way to win. They haven't done that at home yet. And the Steelers were the first team to get them at home in week 1. Again, 18-10, I believe that score was, something to that effect. The Steelers, it's not going to be pretty with them. I don't think at any point this season, but it doesn't matter. This isn't college. It's not a beauty contest, right? You don't get points for how you beat teams. You just get a tally in the left-hand column. And right now they've got 3 of those and none in the right-hand side. And they find a way to get it done defensively. I think the quarterback conversation is done in Pittsburgh. I think what we've seen from Justin Fields is more than enough for him to be the starter in Pittsburgh. He keeps getting better and better and better every single week. And it was easy to kind of ignore what they were doing. You beat up a Denver Broncos team, only scoring 13 points with rookie quarterback and Bo Nix under center. And so you're finding ways to win. The Steelers had 23 points scored through 2 weeks, okay? And they were 2-0. But to do it now against an undefeated Chargers team in week 3, that showed that, hey, this team is legit. And, yeah, it's still not going to be the most aesthetically pleasing. But when it's all said and done, this is a results-based business, and Mike Tomlin gets results, and the Steelers' defense gets results. They've now given up, 10 in week 1, 6 in week 2, and 10 in week 3. So they've given up a total of 26 points through the first 3 weeks of the season. All right. I mean, that's insane. That's the kind of defense they're playing. Meanwhile, Justin Fields is taking care of the football. He had his first turnover in week number 3, a batted ball for an interception, but 2 touchdowns to offset the interception. He's throwing the football well, had his best day of his Steelers career in week 3. They're getting better offensively. The defense is legit. This is a scary team, and they're going to be tough to beat if they do the things that they've done the first 3 weeks. Hence, they're at number 6. On the power index, is one of 5 teams to remain unbeaten through the first 3 weeks. Coming in at number 5, the Detroit Lions, up 2 spots from last week at number 7. That's a big win that they got on the road at Arizona. Arizona was coming off of the destruction of the Los Angeles Rams, 41-10. They go into Arizona and they get it done. And it was a gritty performance. 20-13, ran the football for well over 200 yards, did the Detroit Lions. Also created turnovers, made it tough on the Cardinals to sustain offense. Cardinals were 1 of 9 in the game on 3rd downs, 0 of 2 on 4th down. So they were able to get to Kyler Murray, make him uncomfortable. They shut down the run game. There was no run game for which to speak of for the Arizona Cardinals in that game. And that's been the theme of the season thus far for Detroit, is their defense has been the catalyst, which is a big surprise and a huge change from last year, where the offense was the driving force and the defense was, it did its job fair enough, but not to the point now where right now we're still waiting for that offensive explosion. We're still waiting for the offense to have one of those games. Routinely last year, the Lions were scoring 30-plus points. They haven't done any such thing this season. As a matter of fact, their highest output this season is 26 in their home opener, in the season opener, and that took overtime. for them to get to 26. And so they've struggled to score the football this season. Goff hasn't been as sharp, right, this season as he was last season to this point, but plenty of time. But the defense has picked up the slack. And that's why the Lions find themselves here on the list at number 5. They continue to find ways to win. And as I've said many a times, and I'll continue to say, the best teams in the league find ways to win. And that's what the Lions have done over the first 3 weeks, starting the season off at 2-1. Now they've got a big matchup against the 3-0 Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football in Detroit. That one should be fun. Coming in at number 4 are the Houston Texans, dropping 2 spots from a week ago where they had checked in at number 2. This is a team that I still think is plenty good. And despite the dismantling in week 3 at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings, 34-7, I still think this is a really good team. And generally, really good teams don't get their asses reamed the way that the Texans did. But shit happens, right? Every now and again, it's not your day. Things just don't go your way, and you got to find a way to bounce back, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, try again. That's what they're going to do. They'll be fine. They ran into a buzzsaw is what happened. They ran into a hot Minnesota Vikings team and got dealt with. But I still think the Texans are one of the best teams in the AFC, and hence that's why they didn't fall but to number 4 on this list. I expect them to bounce back this week, play good football, get back to their winning ways. CJ Stroud doesn't turn it over. He had 2 turnovers in the game. That's unlike him. So I think he'll get back to being safe with the football, making plays, and I think they'll get back to their winning ways. But this was a blip on the radar for the Texans, and that's why they're down 2 spots from 2 to number 4. Checking in at number 3, the Buffalo Bills, and this is their first time making an appearance on the Power Index. Wasn't there in week 2. All right, even though they had an impressive, they had to come from behind in week 1 against Arizona, but they got it done, right? And honestly, that's been the scariest game for them. That Arizona game, week 1 at home, where they were down 17-3, has been their biggest challenge to date. After that, they ran the Dolphins out of the gym in week 2 on Thursday Night Football, turned around and beat the brakes off of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk more about that performance here in a second, 47-10. And now they're 3-0, right? One of the 5 remaining unbeatens in the NFL. And Josh Allen's playing at an MVP level. 9 touchdowns, no turnovers, which is the big number for Josh Allen. We know he can fill up the stat sheet, and we know he can light it up from a playmaking standpoint, but we also know he can light it up from a turnover perspective too, right? If he's not turning it over, it's a different animal in Buffalo. We'll talk more about that here in a bit, but don't look now. The Buffalo Bills are 3-0, but I've said this already, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. This next month, and it's starting on Sunday night, they travel to Baltimore. We're going to find out about these Buffalo Bills, a lot about the Buffalo Bills, but I've been impressed with what I've seen, so much so that they went from not on the list at all last week all the way up to number 3 in the Power Index. And then you get to number 2 on the list, and it's the Minnesota Vikings. Put some respect on the Vikings name. It was easy to dismiss them after their week 1 win over the Giants. Okay, it was the Giants. All right, cool. All right, show me. It's San Francisco in week 2. Show me. Well, they showed us. They beat the San Francisco 49ers in week 2 and played extremely well. And so we said, okay, all right, that was cute. But the 49ers haven't beaten you in Minnesota since 1992. Okay, all right. Show me against the Texans then. They didn't just show us. They destroyed the Houston Texans in week number 3, okay? And so now you have no choice but to respect what the Vikings are doing if you didn't already before. All right, this Vikings team last week was at number 5. They've jumped all the way to number 2 on this list. And one could argue that they're number 1, but I'm not putting them ahead of Kansas City because the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions. Put some respect on their name, right? But I will say this. These 2 big wins in a row that they've had have both come at home. Want to see how they handle themselves in a road environment against a tough team. They haven't had that challenge yet. Okay. Won't consider the Giants in week 1 a tough road environment yet. So want to see what happens. And I'm going to keep putting obstacles in their way because I still am like, really, Sam Darnold? Really? Is this you? Is this really you? Sammy, is this you? I'm going to keep putting obstacles and they're going to have to keep clearing them. But while I'm putting obstacles in their way and while they're having to clear them, I'm going to give them their just due. That's the difference. There are people that refuse to give them their props because they can't believe what they're watching because it's Sam Darnold. This can't be real, right? I'm not going to just put the obstacles in their way and make excuses and not give them credit. I'm going to give them their credit. That's why they're at number 2, but I'm still going to put those obstacles in their way and see if they clear them. And I'm putting another one. Okay, the first one was, okay, beat San Francisco, beat a real team. All right, they did that. All right, beat the Texans. All right, beat the Texans. Okay, they did that. All right, now win a game on the road against a quality opponent. That's the next test. That's the next obstacle I'm putting in front of them. See if they can handle that. But they're at number 2 right now, are the Minnesota Vikings. And then lastly, you already know. You already know who's number 1 on this list. Of course, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And I can't just say that. I have to say the 2-time Super Bowl defending champion, Kansas City Chiefs. That's how you got to say it. They just keep finding ways to win. And you could argue not a single one of their victories this season has been aesthetically pleasing, and they've been all nail biters down to the very last snap and nail biters, right? Week 1, they won by a toe. Week 2, they won due to a pass interference on a 4th and 16. Week 3, no call in the end zone on a pass interference that everybody wants to talk about, but yet the Falcons still had the ball yet again with a chance, and they still didn't get in and couldn't get a 4th and 1. So I don't want to hear that shit, right? But at the end of the day, they've been all close, highly contested, football games. But guess what? The fact still remains the same. They won all 3 of them. And that's what champions do. They find ways to win in the face of adversity. It doesn't get much more adverse than 4th and 16. Yeah, pass interference bailed them out. It was pass interference. Okay. I mean, what else do you want to say? Right. They find ways to win. And they're 3-0. So until they're not 3-0, or until the number in the right-hand column isn't a 0, they'll remain number 1, even if it continues to look like this. Because despite looking like this, some teams, when it looks like this, you like, okay, this is a house of cards that's going to collapse at some point. Like we said that about Philadelphia last year. They were 10-1, and we kept saying, hey, at some point, the shit that you've been getting away with that has allowed you to amass this 10-1 start, you're not going to get away with it. And those glaring deficiencies that you have that are being masked by the fact that you're winning will come to light, and you won't be able to hide them anymore, right? And what happened? The Eagles collapsed epically at the end of last season. The Steelers did it back in 2020, right? Where they collapsed epically after starting the season off like 10 or 11-0, right? You know, when you see the Arizona Cardinals, 2 years ago, started off 8-0, last undefeated team. But we said, this is a house of cards, literally. It's a house of cards. And it collapsed. And so, when you see that, there's no house of cards here with the Chiefs. What you see is what you get. They find ways to win. That's why they're the 2-time Super Bowl defending champions. They're just going to keep finding ways to win. So, till they're not winning, they're number 1 on the LouieTeeNetwork Power Index. So, I'll see you next week for a brand new Power Index. Till then, we move on to social media maneuvers. I'm a midday marauder. Y'all know what it is. If you're out there and you want your comment read on the air, super chats are the best way to get that done. However, if you want your comment read and you're out there use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air if it is pertinent and time permits. We will get to your comment and we will react to it. But super chats are the way to ensure that your comment is read and reacted, and you jump straight to the front of the line. No waiting and no wonder if he's going to get to my comment. You don't have to worry about that. So with that said, I want to start off the conversation first, and then we're going to get to the comment section, talking about the Bills and Josh Allen. This 3-0 start has been very impressive. After a shaky opening day win against the Arizona Cardinals, the Bills have looked super impressive the last 2 weeks. We all watched the destruction of the Miami Dolphins, including knocking Tua out of that game. But before Tua was knocked out of the game, he had already thrown 3 interceptions, and the Bills were well on their way to the rout of the Miami Dolphins. You follow that up with just the utter destruction of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So much so, we are questioning whether Trevor Lawrence has the juice, whether Doug Peterson will be fired and be the first coach in the league fired this year. A lot came from that game. The Jags are struggling, but to get destroyed in that manner on a national stage, it's hard to overcome that and ignore that, right? But the real story was the play of Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Like, yeah, if you're a Jags fan, you're focusing on their end of it. But everybody else is like, damn, did you see Josh Allen? Did you see 6 straight possessions to start the game of 5 touchdowns and a field goal? This score was 33-3 at halftime, right? They're playing with an abundance of confidence right now, and it starts with Josh Allen. And I made a big deal out, and I'm still making a big deal out of it because, again, we haven't seen them against upper echelon competition yet. They've played Arizona, Miami, and Jacksonville. The 3 teams that they've played have a combined 2 wins. So you got to keep that in mind. Now, and it's different if one of the teams that they beat were, 0-3 Cincinnati or 0-2 Cincinnati or an 0-2, Baltimore that they'll be playing this week. Nobody's looking at Baltimore's 1-2 record and saying, well, Ravens aren't very good. It'd be one thing if it were one of those teams. They've played, except for Arizona, they've played bad teams. The Dolphins are a bad team right now. The Jaguars are one of the worst teams in football right now. So you do have to take it with a grain of salt, but I want to more so focus on Josh Allen. And I made a big stink about, and again, I'm still going to stand 10 toes down on this. They don't have enough talent around him. But through these first 3 weeks, man, does he look comfortable. Looks like a weight's off of his shoulders. Did you hear what he said after the game? And look, a lot of people spun this into a shot and a dig at Stephon Diggs. Did you see what I just did there? I don't know if it was directly aimed at him. I think he was a part of that comment, but I don't think it was solely aimed at him, right? He said it feels so good to not have to worry about any getting the ball to someone because of their stats, essentially. And I'm paraphrasing. And a lot of people took it as a dig at Stephon. And while I think indirectly it wasn't like he was saying Diggs was a pain in the ass, and I'm glad he's not here because he was always bitching about not getting the football. I don't think he was saying that. I think he was saying, like, when you have that type of a receiver, there is an onus that is put on the quarterback to get that guy the football. Think about it from this perspective. If you're a Commanders fan, I know this is the easiest way to relate it. If you're a Commanders fan or some other team out there with a big time receiver, but Commanders fans can relate to this, and it's easier to make it make sense when I say it in this context. Think about the pressure that we've put on the staff and in the quarterbacks to get Terry McLaurin the football because we view him as one of those guys, right? When you have one of those guys, you got to feed him. He's there for a reason. Teams are game planning to stop him. You need to involve him in the game. It is mandatory that you do this or we're going to be disappointed because he's one of the best receivers in the league. That's what Stephon Diggs was in Buffalo. And when you have one of those guys, you got to get him the football. And so you feel the pressure of I need to find a way to feed my guy. And then it doesn't help if that guy also might throw a temper tantrum on the sideline. That doesn't help either. So, yes, I think indirectly he was talking about Diggs, but I think he was more so saying, I'm free, man. Like, I remember saying this about the Packers last year. They don't have a go-to receiver. So Jordan Love, as a first-year starter last year, he didn't have to worry about, shit, I got Devontae Adams. I got to get him the ball. He's getting frustrated. We heard Devontae Adams say, it ain't about wins and losses for me. It's about more than that. Like, no, I need the ball. I need to be the reason we won the game. I mean, it sounded like some real selfish shit. Seriously, it did. Right? He's like, I'm chasing greatness. I ain't worried about wins and losses. Well, goddamn. Okay. So when you got a guy like that, you got to give him the ball or you're going to have issues, right? It's going to be a really contentious environment if he's not getting the rock and you're losing, right? Jordan Love didn't have to worry about that last year. I mean, it's Jaden Reed, it's Wicks, right? It's Romeo Dubs. Like, he didn't have to worry about somebody bitching about not getting the football. All of you guys are youngins just trying to make a name for yourself in the league. I can spread it around, get it to whomever, and it's all good. If you don't get any targets this week, you're fine. If you get 6 next week and somebody else only gets 1, they're fine. You're fine. We're all fine. It's all good. Josh Allen is living that life right now. And he's like, you know what? I thought it would be tough, but no, I'm really feeling this right now. And I think this is what the Bills front office had in mind because they ate a lot of money on their end when they traded Stephon Diggs. They essentially said, this is addition by subtraction. It's going to hurt us in the short term, but long term, it's going to be better for our situation if he's not here. And right now, they're being proven right, but it's a small sample size early in the season, and they haven't played great competition. But you have to be impressed with what you've seen from Josh Allen through these first 3 games, and he's having fun. And he's not pressing, and he's not putting the ball in harm's way. And I think, too, what has also been excellent to watch is the defense is doing their part. They lost a lot of guys. A lot of veterans. It's the same thing I said about Minnesota, a veteran exodus. How are you going to handle that? And the guys that they've brought in have come in, and they had some guys already there to fill in. Like they moved on from both of their safeties. Well, they already had both of the safeties that they've promoted already on the roster. So they just moved guys into those roles, and they've done a tremendous job. DeMar Hamlin just got his first career interception against Jacksonville, right? And you look at their defensive line. One of the issues with Buffalo, they don't get enough pressure. Von Miller is starting to get to the quarterback again. Old Von Miller. See if he can stay healthy, but he's generating pressure. Some of the other guys generating pressure, right? The run game is coming alive with James Cook. He's spreading it around. I told you the tight ends would be a problem. Cook can catch it out of the backfield. They're spreading it around. Khalil Shakir is becoming a problem, right? He's becoming a problem. You still have Curtis Samuel. You have the rookie Keon Coleman. There are other options. Valdez-Scantling. Look, we don't know if he can catch, but he can stretch the field vertically. It's worth a shot. Okay? So they've got a bunch of stuff, and right now, he doesn't have to press as to who gets the football. Who's ever open, that's where I go with the ball. And no one's going to complain about it. It feels like a weight has been taken off of his shoulders. He's playing free football. He's smiling. He's having a blast, and he's playing at an MVP level. Right now, if the MVP trophy were given out, he'd be the recipient. Now, a lot of football left to be played. And like I said, we're going to find out just how good the Bills are over this next month because it's a treacherous road that they're going to travel here over the next 4 games. And we're going to see most of it. Like I said, we just saw them on Thursday night. We just saw them on Monday night. Now we're going to see them on Sunday night. And then I think we get a break against the Texans, I believe, after this Ravens game. And then we see them on Monday night again. I think, and that's against the Jets, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to find out real fast if these Bills are legit. But, man, maybe it was addition by subtraction. Maybe I was wrong. I'm not double-O-ing it right now. I'm not double O in it right now, but there's a concoction over here on the side that I might have to put in the oven with a double O in it. That might have to go in the oven and start baking here shortly. They beat the Ravens on Sunday Night Football in Baltimore. I'm gonna have to put that double O in the oven and let that baby bake. We'll see what happens. Anyway, let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. We're gonna start the thing off with Bear It Down and my guy BD. Let's make some social media maneuvers. BD, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy. Bear It Downing, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, need you to loop, say something, bad dog, in the chat. Can hear. That was pure comedy. LOL. Oh my God. It was crazy because you guys could hear him and I couldn't. And I couldn't read his lips. That's why I told him, I said, man, send me like a message or something so I can see, because I'm terrible at reading lips unless it's like in super slow motion. Like you slow it down or I'm like super focused. You know, I had a couple of drinks that night, so the focus was not there. Okay. I need to be razor sharp to read lips. I wasn't razor sharp at that point. So I needed help. I'm like, you got to send me a message, bro. I can't read your lips. I can't tell what you're saying. He's like, bro, they can hear me. You're the only person that can't. I'm like, seriously? It was me. I was the, I don't know, but how did that happen? He just went to the bathroom. That was it. Nothing happened. He didn't disconnect anything. That was crazy. Anyway, King of the Bluegrass. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to King of the Bluegrass. So glad to have you back on board. You couldn't have come back at a better time. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, I saw all the laughing on the Super Friends about our come up, and all I would say is, he who laughs last. I thought about being even more petty. Because all this content I've been watching. This is the thing. And this is why it's hard to talk to people who don't watch other teams. Right? Like Bad Dog watched the game. I knew he watched the game because of his reaction. You could tell LB didn't watch the game. He doesn't know what the hell we over here doing. Right? It's hard to talk to people who don't know. Because they don't get it. And it's easy to dismiss us because y'all gonna do the same shit y'all always do. He didn't watch the game. LB didn't watch the game. He didn't know. Right? That was one of, like, the only reason I consumed so much of the content that was out there is because I've watched so much football in my life, more than most my age. And so I know my eyes aren't deceiving me, but I'm like, I just need validation that I'm not tripping. I'm not overreacting. I'm not having this crazy reaction to this because it's my guy. Like, this is really what's happening, and my eyes aren't deceiving me, right? And everybody's like, no, bro, you were right. That's one of the greatest performances we've seen from a rookie quarterback in that spot, in that environment, in that throw to Terry McLaurin. Boomer Esiason said it's the greatest rookie quarterback performance he's ever seen in his life. That's Boomer Esiason. It's Boomer Esiason who's saying that. He said that throw to Terry McLaurin is the best throw he's ever seen a rookie quarterback make. Like, again, I can't make this stuff up. He's not the only person to say something like that. It was one for the ages. I've heard at least 4 or 5 other people who I respect in the industry say that. Aaron Rodgers was like, bro, that shit was insane. It's Aaron freaking Rodgers, right? Tom Brady's like, yo, that was crazy. It's Tom Brady. I'm not making this up, but when you don't watch, when you only watch your own team, it's hard for you to really truly know what's going on. So I always try to give LB some grace because I know he don't really know, right? He can talk to you about the Eagles till his face turns blue. He really don't know. He'll be watching tonight though, because he's a Cowboy hater. He watches all those games though. He'll sit down because he thinks, trust me, the narrative will shift here shortly. Once he realizes we're on their ass because we got one of them ones. It'll shift from, oh, I got to worry about the Cowboys. So let me check out these Commanders real quick. It'll shift real quick. Right now, the Cowboys are their chief competitor. So that's who he's most concerned with. But it'll shift real quick once he realizes the type of animal he's dealing with. But I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Yes, I am. But I'll let him find out on his own. Remember, I've told you this many a times. A wise woman once told me, those who don't hear, feel. That's all I'm going to say about it. Let's get to the comment section. Some more. Let's see. Got another super chat that just came in. King of the Bluegrass. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I'm not surprised about JD5. He is one of one. I knew from day one. I can't claim that. For those of you who knew from day one, more power to you. You guys had it from the jump. I didn't know that. I was impressed with him from the moment I heard him open his mouth and speak. The tape wasn't terrible. To me, the tape was good. It was good. It was good enough to be the number 2 pick. I had no issues with that. I told you guys during the draft process, this is the funny part, is everybody thinks I was upset that we took him. I wanted Drake May so bad. I said, I'm happy with any of the 3 quarterbacks. You can't make me upset. We're in a great spot. I just want them to get it right. And I told you, I said what I said. I said I thought Drake May had the higher ceiling. Caleb Williams and Drake May have higher ceilings than Jaden Daniels. And I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. Now, we haven't seen Drake May play yet, really. And Caleb Williams, it's early. I can't say that I'm wrong yet. But boy, it feels like I'm wrong. And I want to be wrong so bad. And I'm telling you, I've never felt more wrong about it than I did after watching that game. But it's impossible for me to make that statement that I'm wrong yet. But I told you he had the highest floor of any of the quarterbacks. Like he wasn't going to fail. I knew that much. Too talented to fail. And I've been blown away. I've never had this amount of confidence for any quarterback in this franchise's history in my lifetime. And this is happening through 3 games. And I'm one of those ones who I don't like to go crazy. And I try to tell you guys, don't go crazy. I can't help myself. I've never seen anything like this before. Shoot me. I'm human. All right. Let's see. See if we got anybody in here that wants to say anything. If not, we'll move on to our final segment of the show. Joshua writes, what's your prediction for the upcoming Washington at Arizona game? Come on, Joshua. Have you been watching the channel that long? You probably haven't. I don't do predictions on the game until Friday. The CNN episode before the game that Friday. So, yeah. That's when you'll get the prediction. All right. HTTR Carson writes, when is the exact time you close the sheets for winners and losers? I close it at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock p.m. on the Thursday night before the Thursday night football game. So usually about 15 minutes prior to kickoff of Thursday night football, that's when I cut the sheets off. So you got till 8 o'clock. All right. So Miss P writes, should Philly be concerned about their receiver situation? Yes. Again, this is assuming that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are out against Tampa Bay. Yes, they should be. Now, we don't know that that's going to be the case. I do not think that either of them have practiced this week. Now, with concussions, we know how those go. The likelihood that he plays this week is slim. Now, AJ Brown might have a chance. He might test the hamstring out game time and say, I can go, right? Having not practiced all week. It's not impossible for that to happen. But he said to Lisa Salters when the Eagles were playing the Falcons on Monday Night Football that it's going to be a few weeks. A few is 3. A couple is 2. It's only been 2 weeks. So this would be the 3rd week. I think he's going to miss this game too. And if you're going into the game with Jahan Dotson as your number 1 wide receiver, you're in a lot of trouble. If Johnny Wilson is in your top 3 receivers, you're in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Now, the beauty of the Eagles is if they can somehow play the type of defense that they played against the Saints, they can beat Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay was awful last week. So there is that. If Tampa Bay were coming off of the big win against the Lions, I'd feel a little bit differently. But after seeing what Denver's defense was able to do them, and trust me, Philadelphia's defense is not Denver's defense. But if they can go in there, the Bucs can't run, so the Eagles don't have to worry about that. If they can protect, and that's going to be the big thing, if they can protect Baker Mayfield, those receivers will get open. Those receivers will get open. Can Baker find them and be accurate with the football? But if they don't protect Baker, they could easily lose that game, and the Eagles could do what they did against New Orleans and win an ugly but effective football game that's low scoring. Because the Bucs aren't lighting the scoreboard up. They lit up the worst defense in football in week 1. But since then, they've scored 20 and 7. So they're not exactly over here, lighting up the pinball machine on the offensive side of the football. So, yeah, they should be concerned, yes, about the receiver situation. For now, obviously, they're going to get healthy, and then they're going to be back to full strength, and then there's no reason to be worried about your receiver situation. But for right now, absolutely, they should be concerned about their receiver situation, without question. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the Bluegrass writes, if you remember, I've been saying it since February. There were a number of people. Remember, there was a civil war going on outside. No man was safe from, right? So a lot of people were saying a lot of things, and I just went inside and locked the door. Okay. So you might have been saying it since February, but I went inside. I went inside because there was a lot of things being said since February, all the way up until roughly about May. I think May was when people was like, all right, we drafted him. I'm going to just shut the hell up and see what happens. But if this shit goes off the rails, I'm going to come back and say, I told you so. Right. But a lot of shit was being said. I just went in the house. So you might have said it. You just got to understand. I wasn't focusing in on one particular comment by someone because it was so much being said, and a lot of it was just craziness. So I just went in the house and locked the door, shut the blinds, I put on headphones, noise canceling headphones, and just relaxed. It was crazy. You got to remember where we were mentally 5 months ago, where this fan base was, right? Never forget. Never forget. Let's see. Justin Clements writes, it feels different because it is different. Please never forget that. All right. Took you guys a little time to come around, but it's good to see you coming around. Kevin, the PRF, looking at the Bills, the Dolphins, and JD's performance, are we done overvaluing high-end wide receivers yet? No, I don't think you are, because they help. Are they a necessity? No. But they sure do help. You don't think it helps Jaden Daniels to have a Terry McLaurin? Even if Terry's not catching the football, this is what I think people understate with big-time receivers. The problem with big-time receivers is they usually have big-time egos. If you have a big-time receiver who doesn't have a big-time ego, and they're very few of them, by the way, then you've got something, because understand the impact of a receiver that is an elite guy and what it does. Like, if you watch the film when Washington is playing, 80% of the time teams are rolling coverage to Terry's side. Like, they take their safety and they literally either start him in the middle of the field, and as soon as the ball snaps, he hauls ass to Terry's side of the field, or they just put him on that side of the field and like, hey, don't even think about it over here. Don't even think about it. When you're getting that kind of coverage, that means somebody else is going to have a chance to win. And even if he's not catching the football, he is dictating coverage. Now you have a chance to win somewhere else. It's no different than a high-end edge rusher or defensive tackle that is forcing the defense or the offensive line or the offense to adjust to them, slide protection to them, et cetera, et cetera. You're opening up opportunities for others now, whether they take advantage of it or not. So that's a whole different discussion. But the opportunity is there because of the presence of said player. Receivers are no different. And so you can talk about the Dolphins all you want. And yeah, they spent a lot of money on those two receivers. But it's more than just them. Like, the guy getting on the ball has to be, some semblance of good. Like, they got nothing, man. It's bad. Like, because you can't just throw wide receiver screens. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're Tyreek Hill. You can't just throw wide receiver screens and have him turn it. Like, you don't think they're checking for Tyreek Hill? Like, you don't think they're checking for Jaden Waller? Like, yeah, you got to have a guy that can actually throw it 15, 20 yards down the field. And Skylar Thompson is not that guy. Sorry, not sorry. So, look, I see what you're saying with the Bills. And sometimes I do think it becomes a bit much for a quarterback to handle. But you don't think Aaron Rodgers would prefer to have a Devontae Adams on his team than not? Yeah, right. You think Aaron Rodgers was cool with the shit that the Packers were doing when Devontae was gone? Hell no. Once Devontae left, he was like, I got to get the hell out of here. It's not safe for me here anymore. He had his worst season after Devontae left. Like, don't dismiss what it means. I watched Larry Fitzgerald drag the Arizona Cardinals single-handedly to the Super Bowl and almost win it by himself. Like, don't dismiss what having an elite receiver can mean. I watched Terrell Owens. You say what you want about him. I watched him drag that Eagles carcass of an offense to the Super Bowl on one leg, on one ankle, with screws in the other ankle. Took him all the way to the Super Bowl. If you got one of them ones, it changes everything. So there can be an argument for both sides. I understand where you're coming from, but trust me, you rather have one. I'd rather have Justin Jefferson than not. Sorry, not sorry. You see what he's doing with Sam Darnold. Take him off that team. Are they 3-0 right now? Hell no. That's on the real side, not the fake side. Chaotic. What's up, man? I was running around the house Monday night, waking up the kids, LOL, and there's some Cardinals fans talking so mad shit about Jaden. And look, that's fine. And some of them might be ASU fans too. You got to keep that in mind. They're scorned, right? He left them, went to LSU. They're pissed off. A lot of them are locals that cheer for the Arizona State Sun Devils, and they're pissed off because Jaden Daniels left. They're still salty 3-4 years later. So there's going to be some of that too. But guess what? I'm cool with that. I'm okay. With success comes haters. It's just inevitable. It's inevitable. It's a part of life, unfortunately. With success comes haters. Bring them on. You get sympathy when you suck. Oh, man, I feel bad for y'all. Yeah, man, it's tough. I don't want sympathy anymore. I had enough of that shit. I had 25 years of that shit. I don't want no more sympathy. Bring the haters on. That means we're doing something right. Bring me the haters. I need them. You don't get haters when you suck. You get sympathy. Lovable losers is what you're called. Oh, man. Oh man, for years the Cubbies were lovable losers. Oh man, the poor Chicago Cubs. Oh, man, had that shot. Hartman took that baseball. Man, gotta love the Chicago Cubs. They're lovable losers. No one wants to be that. I don't want your sympathy. I don't want it. I want to win. I want you to not like me because I win too much. You want to see what's happening to the Chiefs? People don't like the Chiefs. Why? Because they win. Bring it on. If people are starting to get upset and mad, that means we're doing something right. We're heading in the right direction. Bring it on. Bring it on. Justin Clements, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Justin Clements, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, any players out there you'd like Washington to add right now? No. Like, again, in my mind, like, this season isn't supposed to be a Super Bowl season. This is we're not even supposed to make the playoffs this year. This is house money. This is house money, right? So I'm just playing with house money. I want them to build this roster the way they want to build this roster. I don't want them. They acquired draft capital so that they can continue to build this thing the way they want to build it. Whether that means taking some of those picks, packaging them up so they can go up and get a specific player or whatever it means. But I want those assets to be there. That's why you traded Jahan Dotson. That's why you might trade a Jonathan Allen at the trade deadline and get more assets, because at the end of the day, that's how you fast track this. You don't build your roster through free agency. You supplement it through free agency and trades and things of that nature. You build your roster through the draft. The more draft picks you have, the faster you can build it up and get it to where you want it to be. I don't want to give away anything. Now, if you find most teams aren't giving away young players who are very talented, okay? If they're going to trade one of their best players, you're going to have to give up a pretty penny in terms of draft capital. They're not going to just give you one of their best corners that's 26 years old. They're hard to come by. If I'm trading that guy, oh, you best believe I want your second or your first round pick. Well, we're not giving that up. So who you think you're going to get this time of the year? I'm cool, right? Let's see how this plays out. We don't even know if we're going to be any good. We feel like we're going to be good. We could still stink this year or be mediocre or average, which is what we were supposed to be anyway, to be honest with you. So let's just see what happens. Christopher Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Christopher writes, in your opinion, if you were the DC, what would you clean up with this defense? And by the way, I love your show. I appreciate you, Chris. I mean, where do we start? The first thing I would do would be to tighten up the run defense. That's, to me, the biggest problem, because, look, we can't stop anybody throwing the football. We can't stop anybody on third downs. It doesn't matter if it's third and short, medium or long. We can't stop anybody, but you give yourself a better chance. And right now, it doesn't matter if it's 2nd and 8, we're giving up an 11-yard run. 1st and 10, 16-yard run. 1st and 10, 6-yard run. You can't live that way, because now you can't stop anything if you can't stop the run. I'd fix that first. However that looks, I'd do that first. Then I'd worry about everything else. You want that third down percentage to get better? Stop the run. It's almost impossible to get stops on third down when the opposition is constantly in third and manageable. Not that 3rd and 9 or 8 has been a problem either, but I'd much rather try my hand at that than 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2. Justin Clements, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, what's your verdict on Sainristil or too early? He's a dog. I'm not worried about Mikey Sainristil. Like, he's a rookie. Like, again, we're 3 games in and people want a verdict on rookies, whether they're good or not. Are you kidding me? And I'm not attacking you, Justin. I'm just saying in general, like, it's great when a guy comes in and plays well immediately. like Jaden has. That's awesome. That's not the norm, people. That's not how rookies normally operate. Normally, rookies come in and they need time to develop. And whether that happens behind the scenes, not playing, or it happens in front of our face, in front of our eyes, right? And you got to go through the growing pains and the things that they have to go through, the fires that they have to go through to develop, the skills that are necessary to be successful in this league and build up the callus that is necessary to be one of the best players at their position. That takes time. And whether it's 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, for some, you don't know how long it's going to take. But I see the competitive spirit. I see the dog in him. I know what he is. I know what kind of guy he is, and I know he's only going to get better. Has it been great for him to start? No. He's a rookie, though. I wasn't expecting him to come in here and light it up. And I think also what hurts him is that because he's such a competitor and a dog, DQ is like, won't got shit outside. I know if nothing else, you're going to compete your balls off if I put you out there. So I'm going to put you out there at boundary corner, even though you're a nickel and that's what you're going to be for us. I just need somebody that's not afraid to go out there. So I'm going to put you out there. So that's stunting his growth as a nickel because that's where he's going to live in this league. He's going to be a damn good nickel when it's all said and done. But he's moving around everywhere because we're hurting, man, at corner. Probably going to get Forbes back this week. And I'm praying. I am hoping and praying that the time off, Forbes is seeing that we balling now. And we need this defense to step up. And I'm hoping this time off is what he needed to recalibrate and come back and say, you know what? I'm ready to do damage. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Today. I'm hoping he comes back and he starts being that guy. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. DC Dude writes, what time did you wake up this morning, Lou? I had a great time with the film breakdown last night. Respect. I get up at 6 something every morning because I got to get the kids ready for school. So it doesn't matter what time I went to sleep. Get your ass up. Because what you're not going to do is stay home with me today because you missed the bus. That's what we're not doing. So I got to get up. So I went to bed at 4:40 last night and I got up at 6. I always try to get at least 2 hours. So I got up at 6:40. So I got 2 hours flat. So you know how that goes. The film was great last night. I mean, how could it not be? Obviously, it wasn't great on the defensive side, but we knew that already. Eric Sunderland writes, Eagles got a week 5 bye. They both gonna sit. Oh, they got an early bye. So, I mean, it would make sense, theoretically speaking, for them to not play in week 4 so that they can get that extra week. AJ's not playing, if that's what you're telling me. And I don't expect a guy that got concussed the way that Devontae Smith did to play in week 4 either. So, yeah, if you know how momentous of a win it will be if they find a way to win this game without both of their top 2 targets. That'll be crazy. It really would be. And if they lose, it's a built-in excuse. Well, we didn't have our 2 receivers. So you already know what it's going to be. I don't give a shit. If they lose, good. Kevin the PRF writes, I'm all for drafting McLaurin in the 3rd. I'm against all these fans who knee-jerk want to trade for Ayuk, Adams, or burn a first round the founder before cleaning up the trenches first. I mean, and I get all of that too. I mean, but you got to remember, McLaurin is an aberration. He's an outlier. You don't generally get those type of receivers in the 3rd round. Right? Let's not make it seem like teams around the league are drafting Terry McLaurin's in the 3rd round all the time. You look at the best receivers in the league, and most of them are first-round picks. Who are we kidding? Yeah, there's some really good receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't a first-round pick, right? A.J. Brown wasn't a first-round pick. And we can keep going, right? But most of the guys that we hold in high regard as among the best in the league are first round picks. So you get that, but I understand where you're coming from this standpoint. Look, we got a guy already, and we don't have to get another number one. You could just get a great complimentary number two and be just fine. And you don't have to draft a complimentary number two in the first round. But I'm with you in the sense of, and we got bigger, more pressing needs than a receiver. And my thing has been to the fan base is they like the new shiny toy. And now that you got a quarterback, they're like, hey, we got to get him some weapons. I'm like, well, we got guns and shit. We got guns and shit. They not the biggest guns in the world. They're not, all of them don't go brat, brat. But they work. They still work. They might not be semi-automatics, but they fire. And so I think too often fans get caught up in the new shiny toy. Ooh, look at this guy. What would we do with him alongside Terry? But you know what else would really benefit us? A corner, an edge rusher, a tackle, right? Like these are all things we could use before a receiver. And that's why fans aren't general managers, because they're impulsive. They're impulsive. Christopher Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Trade deadline is coming. What would you do there? Just depends on where we are. You got to see, right? I mean, trade deadline is at the end of October. We could be in a whole different stratosphere by then. We get to the end of October and we're 6-1. Okay. Now you can convince me, hey, go get somebody. Right? Now you might be, and I still look at the rest of the conference and they're struggling. I'm like, wait, okay, yeah. Go get somebody. But we can get to the end of October and we're 3-5. I might be looking to trade somebody at that point instead of going to acquire someone. So it's all about where we are in the process. And the deal has to make sense for us. You don't just go get something for the sake of going to get something. Again, I'm not in the business of giving up draft capital. We're still technically in the recalibration phase. Okay. Understand that. We didn't skip a step because Jaden Daniels went apeshit in week 3 against the Cincinnati Bengals. We didn't skip all the way to, hey, let's go win a Super Bowl overnight. We're still recalibrating. This roster is nowhere near a finished product. You're not going to skip steps. So you have to be mindful of that as well, right? Bottom line is, you see where you are a month from now, and then you make a sound, calculated decision as to whether you want to move some of the parts that we currently have, like a Jonathan Allen, for instance, or do you want to go out and acquire a guy that is young that can help you moving into the future that you think fits what you want, fits what a commander is. You would put a commander's tag on that player. He's young, going in, into the prime of his career or already in the prime of his career. And you're like, hey, where we're going over the next 4 years, this guy can be a part of it. If you see an opportunity for that, and then you think to yourself, can I get this type of player in the second round? If the answer is no, then you trade a second round pick, right? But you got that. You don't cross that bridge until you get there. We're still a whole month away, 5 games away from the trade deadline. A lot can change between then and now, right? A lot can change between then and now. All right, let's see. Here. Nate Master. Did you see Coleman textbook pancake Hendrickson? Yeah, which one are you talking about? Because there were 2, but one wasn't really a pancake. One, he tripped over the foot of the back that was coming out of the backfield, and it made it look like he pancaked him. He didn't. Now, the one in the run game, and even though he still tripped over somebody there, that one was gorgeous. That one got me excited more so than the one in the pass game where he did a belly roll over him. I thought Coleman played well. I liked what I saw. That was a vast improvement from what I saw in week 2, right? When it continue to see that upward trajectory. But he did give up a sack, but that's what you expect from a rookie, right? They're going to be those growing pains. I was impressed. I really like what I saw from Coleman. And clearly they are too. And that's why this game, I wouldn't be shocked if Coleman got more snaps. Then in order to do that, you would think it would take him starting, but it could just be, hey, Cornelius Lucas started the game, and that's a 7-play drive. And then on the second drive, because right now they're alternating drives. That's where we're at now. The next drive could be a 12-play drive, and now he's played more snaps than Cornelius Lucas. You see what I'm saying? Then Cole Luke comes in, and that's a 5-play drive, and we score a touchdown. And then the next drive is a 13-play drive. So Cole Lucas started the game and played on the same amount of possessions, but he's only played in 12 snaps. Meanwhile, Brandon Coleman has been on the field for 25 snaps because it was a 12 and a 13-play drive. You see how that could happen? So we'll see if they change the order. At some point, they're going to say, all right, man, you ready to start? You ready to start? I don't know if that's this week or not. Justin Clemens writes, our guns are like the Harlem Nights scene with the Tommy guns and the pistol. Yeah. We don't got the Tommy guns. That's not what we got. Fans want Tommy guns, but our little pistols work. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, our little revolvers, they still fire, right? Yeah. Nate Master says, how did Coleman look on tape, and what was your evaluation of Payne and Allen? I'll talk about that on CNN tonight. I had a chance to watch the film with the mob, and so I'll tell you what I saw. So, all right, let's wrap this thing up with our final segment of the show and garbage time. Dallas Cowboys are traveling to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Football Giants, the G-Men, in an NFC East clash. Family business, as I like to call it. And this is a big one. Both teams are 1-2. Cowboys have lost 2 straight. Giants have won their first game of the season and are looking to make it 2 in a row. And look, this division, I joke and I kid, but this shit is up for grabs. Like the Cowboys clearly are not immortal, and the Eagles are no longer the runaway favorite in this division. All right, they have flaws and deficiencies, and so this is anybody's division, including the Giants. As crazy as that sounds, they go to or they beat the Cowboys here. And that sets off a chain of events in this division. The Cowboys go apeshit. The media goes crazy. The sky is falling, and Cowboys fans are going to lose it. It changes everything. Giants win this game. They're going to be lamenting that drop pass in week 2 against Washington because all of a sudden they could have been 3-1 right now, right? So this is a lot riding on this one. So what I've seen from both teams going into this game is the following. With Dallas, their biggest 2 issues are, one, they can't run the ball, despite Okoye Media is trying to convince you that, well, we haven't had opportunities to run the football. Nah, I wouldn't call it that. You're just not very good at it right now. And I don't know if you're going to be very good at it. And you don't have any running backs that scare anyone. And so we'll see if they can run the football effectively. I think you can run against the Giants, right? The Browns just stink in every facet of the game. And so the Giants didn't have to really worry about them running the football because they're just not very good right now. And they got after Deshaun Watson too, and that helps a lot. So I don't see the Cowboys having a ton of success on the ground, but if there's a team you can run against, it's these Giants. The Commanders had a field day. Brian Robinson Jr. had his biggest day. The Commanders ran for well over 200 yards. in their contest versus the Giants. The Vikings in week 1, Aaron Jones almost had 100 yards on just 19 carries. So you can run the ball on the Giants defense from what I've seen thus far. So that'll be interesting to see if Dallas can strike some sort of balance on the offensive side, because they can still throw the football. I mean, it hasn't been, the prettiest to start, but they can still throw the football. And the Giants aren't some defensive juggernaut, contrary to popular belief. If you talk to Giants fans, oh shit, look at our pass rush, this, that, and the third. Okay, we're going to find out how good it is against the Cowboys, right? We're going to see on a national stage. You got a chance to do what the Commanders just did, right? On a national stage to prove that this wasn't a fluke and we ain't no bitch. Here's your chance, right? Because every time you see Dallas in this situation, you get your ass kicked. Also, with Dallas, they can't run the ball and they can't stop the run. They are abysmal stopping the run. The Ravens ran for almost 300 yards. Now, granted, it's Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Those are two different types of animals right there. However, doesn't change the fact that you're not allowed to give up 274 yards on the ground. That's not okay. That's never okay. I don't give a shit who you playing against. So they can't stop the run. They don't run it well. And if you're the Giants, that's what you have to exploit. Are the Giants equipped to exploit those two things? While not turning it over, which they've had a turnover in every game this season, multiple in week 1, including a pick 6. Fumble against Washington. They've only forced one turnover this season, and it was against the Giants. And Devin Singletary fumbled again last week, so that's 2 weeks in a row he's put on the carpet, and they fumbled the opening kickoff. Try that shit against Dallas. Give up points 11 seconds in and think you're going to win. You got another thing coming, okay? So they still have a turnover issue. They still don't know how to get out of their own way, do the Giants. Malik Neighbors is legit, okay? And I think you can throw the ball on the Cowboys as well. Like, they're not good anywhere defensively, but they can get after the quarterback still, okay? Giants have looked a lot better in terms of protecting the quarterback, getting it out of Daniel Jones's hands. And when he does drop back, it's usually max protect, play action fake, 2-man routes. And so if they're going to continue to do that and get it to Malik Neighbors, they'll have a shot. They'll have a shot. But they got to stay away from the turnovers, something they haven't been able to do all season long. They're going to have to run the football, and they may have some success. We'll see if the Giants can run the football or not. And they're going to have to stop the run, right? Because make Dak one-dimensional. Make the Cowboys one-dimensional. And you got to pick your spots with kicking the football to Kevontae Turpin, because he's a problem. And I've always said this. The Cowboys have a cheat code on special teams. With Brandon Aubrey, you just get to midfield and you're in field goal range. So there's that. And then Kevontae Turpin, at any moment, he could break one. So you got to be careful with him. So if I'm kicking the ball off, I'm just out of bounds, 30-yard line. Here you go. Right? I don't even want to deal with his ass. And on punts, you got to angle it. You know what I mean? You got to kick it high, make him fair catch it. You got to make sure that you do the things you need to do to make sure that he doesn't impact the game, because he can't. So there's a number of things you have to do. But above all else, if you're the Giants, here's your keys to victory. Don't turn the ball over. You haven't been clean all season long. Can't have self-inflicted wounds. The penalties can't be behind the sticks. You got to stay in third and manageables consistently that give you a chance to convert and win the time of possession. Keep the Cowboys off the field offensively, because we talked a lot of shit about Dallas's offense, and they haven't been as crisp and sharp. But you saw when they got some momentum against Baltimore, they lit it up quick. They went from trailing 28-6 to 25 to 28-25 within a span of about 5 to 6 minutes. They were able to get it up very fast. So understand that they can still score. So you need to keep them off the field offensively. Time of possession is going to allow you to do that. But you can't win time of possession if you're committing mistakes, penalties. You're not running the football effectively on early downs or completing passes on early downs to put you in manageable third down situations. And you got to stay away from the mistakes, the turnovers, the short fields, right? You can't have the mistakes. You had a block kick return for a touchdown in the game last year. Like, that kind of shit can't happen if you want to beat Dallas. I saw a stat. I don't believe this shit, but a Giants fan can tell me if this is legit or not. I saw a stat that said the Giants have not sacked a Cowboys quarterback in 1,011 snaps. I said, no, you got to be shitting me, man. That's not true. I don't believe it. But if that's true, and then that person went on to say, I need Dak Prescott on his back tonight with the football still in his possession, or he fumbles it, whatever. I just need a sack. Can they get to Dak and disrupt him? This offensive line is not great. It's not what it used to be. Can they get to Dak and disrupt him, frustrate him, force him into a mistake or two? They got 8 sacks last week. Different animal. If you're Dallas, you want to set the tone early. And the Giants are still the Giants, and they're still fragile-minded, and you still hold power over them. You jump these boys early, and they will go into a shell. They're the same Giants. I watched them in week 1 against the Vikings. It's the same Giants. It's the same Giants. You jump them early, and you got them. Now, if you don't, you can still win, but now it's just going to be a lot harder because you've given them confidence. Everything that I've said, just flip it on its head, right? Don't turn the ball over. Don't give them life. Don't give them short fields. Make them earn everything that they get. Look, if you give up rush yards, you give up rush yards. Just don't let them be like big, explosive plays. You want Daniel Jones to have to beat you. That's at the end of the day, if you make Daniel Jones beat you, you feel good about your chances. I think that's anybody league-wide. Just make Daniel Jones beat us. And if he does, you tip your cap. Hey, you got me, man. How often does he do that? Not often. There's no Saquon Barkley there that you have to worry about. They do have Malik Neighbors, though. I can't stress this enough. He's different. Okay. And this will be your first time seeing him. So you'll find out. I've already found out. 18 targets, 10 catches, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think it was against us, or 1 touchdown, excuse me. I found out already. I know what it looks like up close and in person. You don't, but you too will find out. Don't let him wreck the game for you. Make somebody else beat you. Take him away. And then get to Daniel Jones. If you slow down the run game and you make Daniel Jones, get to Daniel Jones. I said all of that to say this. As much as I would love to see the Giants somehow rise up, and the Lord says you got to rise up. As much as I would love to see the G-men rise up here, I know better. And when you know better, you do better. I know better. It's the same Giants. Same OGs. It's the same OGs. Same OGs. Dallas is going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be the ass kicking that it normally is. You remember, I want to say it was a game 2 years ago, 2022. 2022. That's the year the Giants were good. Went to the playoffs. They had a Thursday night game. They wore the throwbacks. They were crispy. It was a whiteout game. And Daniel Jones wasn't awful that night. And they hung in against Dallas. I don't think they had Dak either, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Dak played in that game. I think that might have been 2022, I want to say, was early in the season. It was the backup that had played well that year. And they hung in that game. But they fell short. Cooper Rush. They hung in, but they fell short. I think it's going to be one of those types of games. They'll hang in for about 2.5 quarters. Late stages of the third, Dallas starts to pull away and wins this thing comfortably, like 29-15, some shit like that, right? I think this will be like a 22-7, game heading into the mid stages of the third, and then Giants put together a drive, score a touchdown, go for two, get it, cut it to a 7-point game, 22-15, and then Dallas puts together a drive themselves and ices this thing and wins it like 29-15 or 32-15 or something like that. That's kind of what I see. But it'll be competitive. It won't be an ass kicking, but it'll be a Cowboys win. Kevin, the PRF, I trust you. Kevin, the PRF, just put this in the comment section. Week 15 of 2021 is the last time they sacked Dak. That sounds about 11, like 1,000, over 1,000 snaps. Sounds like over 1,000 snaps. Or I think the person said it's been over 1,100 days or something like that. And that too would be accurate. That's been about 3 years, right? So whatever the case may be, either way, that's nasty work. So maybe it changes tonight. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, the results remain the same. I got the Cowboys in this Thursday night game to get back to 500 on the season over the Giants. Let's call it 32-15. I could see it being 29-15, but let's go 32-15 Cowboys. All right. I got one more super, and then we'll get out of here. Brandon N. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Brandon, writes, Lou, just got off work. Feeling good? Me too, man. It feels good. Yeah. It feels good. Thanks for coming through with the content. Come on now. Thank you for supporting and watching and pouring in the time, effort, and support that you have. I love Noah Brown, and I think he should be the number 2 for this team, even though we run different stuff. I mean, don't you feel like he's already the number 2? I do. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else out there. I think he's the number 2 already. Additionally, do you think Noah sees over 20 snaps this week? What was his snap count? I'm gonna pull up the snaps right now on my end, and I'm gonna tell you what the snap count, what he had snap count wise. He had 34 snaps, man. If you're talking about De'Ami Brown, now I'm pretty sure you're talking about Noah, not De'Ami. De'Ami had 13 snaps. But yeah, you said Noah Brown. He had 34 snaps last week, man, against the Bengals. He's playing. I already look at him as the number 2 receiver in Washington. Really appreciate you, Brandon. Thank you for the super chat and the support. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on. Oh, you're talking about Noah Igbenogany. Let's check his snap count. You know what? I think when Forbes comes back, sorry, because you said Noah Brown. Then you said Noah again, and you didn't clarify that there was a different Noah that you were referring to. So you got me. Defensive snaps. Let's check it. Let me take a look at Noah Igbenogany played 52 snaps, which was 84% of the snaps. Now, obviously, there was no Emmanuel Forbes, so that was necessitated. But with Forbes coming back, I think they're going to make him, their first reserve off the bench. But if Forbes is to struggle at all in any capacity, they won't hesitate to go back to Noah Igbenogany and some form of Mike Samer still, right? So we'll see. But I think they're going to go back to where they were when the season started, which was Juice on one side, Forbes on the other, excuse me, and Mike Samer's still in the slot. And then you go from there. And we'll see what happens. But if Forbes has a good week of practice, which I assume he will, and they feel comfortable putting him out there and he feels comfortable playing with the cast on his hand, then I think they're going to put Forbes out there in the starting capacity. So we'll see what happens. But I digress. Thank you for all the support. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys tonight. NFC East clash. I know y'all going to show up for it. So we'll definitely be talking about it later on tonight. GT7 says, Lou, Cosme, are we worried? I haven't seen the injury report for today. Anytime I see injury and Achilles, yes, I'm worried. But we'll see, right? I don't know what the status is for, Thursday. Wednesdays don't worry me. It's the short turnaround that's really got him. So I'm not sure. Like if this were a normal week, would he have been fine? I don't know. But because it was a quick turnaround, I can't say. But yeah. Anytime I hear the word Achilles, I'm worried. Yes, I'm worried. So we'll see, what happens with him and, how he progresses throughout the course of this week. But yeah, I see the word Achilles, I get nervous. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the 452nd installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Hopefully, I'll see a lot of you tonight. I also have a new installment of the CNN for you to tune into. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be a little bit later than normal because I got a crazy schedule today. Got the kiddos by myself for a little while, so got to play super dad here for the next few hours. But at some point, I'll get to sit down, bang out that CNN, and then turn my attention to this NFC East showdown. But looking forward to all of it. You guys enjoy it, and hopefully you'll come back and chop it up with me about it when it meets its conclusion. Until next time, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Take care. God bless, and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.